Mobutu Sese Seko ruled Congo for 32 years. He was notorious for changing his ministers like playing musical chairs. I think he shuffled them around, and the whole idea was if you were a minister, you would be on a ministerial post, you would go to prison, then exile, and then you would return to office back up, because and this usually would happen in the fourth year apparently, where they would get a little more powerful, and he would quickly move them around.
Yeah. So the primary threat to most of these leaders are not the masses in the streets or some kind of external enemy, but their own people, the people smiling at them in the palace as they walk by. So their closest advisors, their own generals, their own intelligence officials. And knowing this, as a leader, you have to take care of these people immediately. If you don't take care of these people, you're done. So you try to take care of these people, and that can take a number of ways, right? So one thing that you can do is to give these people power. You can give them money to try to keep them on your side. But, there's not just a carrot, but there's also the stick. So obviously you can use repression in order to swap out people that might be disloyal and so forth. And yeah, like you say, structure also plays a really big part. So you don't want people to be able to coordinate against you. You don't want your ministers to spend too much time together, especially not if they're related to the security forces in some way. So if you see the Minister of the Interior with your big general going golfing or something, that's not the type of thing you want. Yeah. And in fact, the military is one of the prime problems for all of these leaders. So one thing that almost every, I don't want to say good dictator, one thing that almost every effective dictator does is to change the structure of their security services. So instead of having a unified military under the command of one general, what you want to have as a dictator is you have your regular military, then you have a parallel military force, and then maybe you also have a militarized palace guard. And the reason why you want to do this is because you want to signal to your generals that they couldn't just depose you one day if they decide that they would rather be in charge. They need to think that they would have to go through a large militia, for example, in order to make it to the palace, or through that militarized palace guard. And knowing that they would have to fight to depose you, they will be less likely to actually try to depose you. But just like everything else in politics, you've got a trade-off here, right? So if you're a dictator, you can only really change the threat around, but you can't really resolve it. It's inherent in your position. So if you structure your security services in a way that makes it less likely that you will be pushed away, you have now created security forces that are going to be less good at the actual job, which is fighting wars. Because that unified command structure is extremely good if you have to defend the country against some sort of external attack. So this is an example for these trade-offs. You can either coup-proof your military, or you can have an effective fighting force, but you can't have both.